So I'm just going to be sharing with you a quick video tutorial on how to switch from auto mode to aperture priority mode on your camera. I'm shooting with a Canon 5D Mark III today, so this is obviously specific to Canon, but if you're shooting with Nikon or something else, it shouldn't be too different. So the first thing I want to do is to go over to the dial on the left hand side, and I'm going to move from the green auto mode over to AV mode. Okay, so that little line is just pointing to AV. On Nikon I think it's just A, but yeah, it's whatever is closest to that really will be aperture priority mode. So once you've done that, the next thing I think to do would be to choose your ISO. If you're not sure how to do this with your camera model, because it can be different from camera to camera, just have a quick Google of how do I change my ISO on my whatever camera model you have. For me, I just have to go over to where it says ISO, and I push this button here, make sure my camera's on, push ISO, and then everything is gone except this number in the middle. So keep it nice and simple. If you're outside and it's a really sunny day, keep your ISO low, something like 100 would be good. Or if you're inside and it's pretty gloomy and dark, you might want something higher like 1200 or 1600. They can go really, really high. So if it's dark, you want something high. If it's bright, you're outside, you want something low. So once you've chosen your ISO and you've got your camera set to AV mode, the last thing you want to do is to actually choose your aperture. So the aperture is measured over here, and these are called f-stops. This number here, 2.2, that's called an f-stop. So at the moment that is f2.2. So if you want to have an isolated subject, that means that it might be perhaps your son or your daughter. You just want a lovely portrait of them where they're really super in focus and everything else is kind of like blurred backgrounds, and it really kind of adds depth and emotion to their portrait. Then you might want to have a shallow depth of field, and that would be a low number, something around f2.2 or even lower. Mine goes as low as f1.4, if you can see that. If you want lots in focus, so you might be at the playground, you might have the swings and the slides and you want to get everything in focus, then you might want to go a bit higher. Or if you're shooting a family shot and you want everybody in focus, something high, and high f-stop will give you a a higher depth of field, so more will be in focus. So that's your creative decision making there. If you want lots in focus, you go for a high number. If you want less in focus, maybe just eyes and a mouth and a nose, then you want to go for a low number. So that's entirely up to you. Once you've chosen your f-stop, that's pretty much it, because look, can you see as I'm moving my camera around, I don't know if you can see this, hang on, my, oh there it goes, look, the shutter speed, that number on the left there is jumping around, and that's my shutter speed, and that's because every time I move my camera is having to change the shutter speed, because all it wants to do is make a proper exposure. It wants to make a balanced exposure, so my shutter speed is going to be chosen for me. So that's why this is what's known as a semi-automatic mode. It's a great mode if you're not feeling confident enough to go for manual mode yet, but you still want to make a few creative decisions. So love aperture priority mode. I hope that I hope that that's been clear, just the basics of literally how to get going on your camera. All that's left for me now, once I've chosen my aperture, my f-stop, my aperture there, is just to take the photo really. So for you guys, it's just going to be a case of, finding what you want to take your picture of, half pressing to lock your focus and your exposure, and then you might want to move your camera slightly just to compose your image a little bit more, and then you just take the photo, and that's it. There's a bit more troubleshooting on my blog post if that is helpful. If not, you can DM me at mylittlmusephoto on Instagram, and I'd love to hear from you. Okay, hope that's helpful. Thanks, bye.